Who are you? What's your role? And where do you work?
Oh, I am Asif Aman. I am the co-founder and chief product officer at StackGen.
What are 3 Kubernetes emerging tools that you're keeping an eye on?
We are definitely keeping an eye on Crossplane, Argo rollout, Argo CD, Argo rollout, as well as KubeCost.
Any reason particular for those 3?
Because StackGen operates in the DevOps infrastructure as code space, so we are definitely keeping an eye on Crossplane. Very closely. They're right here.
These are reactions to episodes that we've recorded on our podcast. So regarding the topic of automation and resource management, Alexandra expressed that having an automated mechanism is better than enforcing processes. What automation tools or approaches do you recommend for managing Kubernetes resources?
Yeah, actually, I have a slightly different perspective, right? When you talk about automation, right, I think it is also important to have the abstraction be taken into account. So what I mean by that is when the focus begins on processes, typically the processes are very specific to certain enterprises and the way the various different groups within the organization have been structured. So for me, automation needs to take care of that level of abstraction so that the users, they do not have to learn anything new. They do not have to learn any new language or any new tool, and then provide them automation at a level of abstraction that they can get all the benefits, but not the additional burden of learning any new tools, if that makes sense.
On the subject of GitOps and infrastructure as code, Dan Garfield said that using Kubernetes as a central data store allows tools like Argo to detect and sync drift in your infrastructure. In comparison, tools like Terraform externalize their state and are harder to track. Is the market moving to tools like Crossplane to provision infrastructure and away from Terraform?
I think the market is moving away from Terraform for a different reason. It's because of the complexity involved in having to deal with Terraform on a day-to-day basis and again managing it. It is not so much from the drift perspective, because I think there is a reason why drift is introduced in the cloud. And the reason for that being the SREs are the ones who are responsible for keeping the lights up and keeping the business applications up and running all the time. They go ahead and make changes to the cloud resources directly. So blowing away those changes by overriding them using a cross-plane kind of approach or a Kubernetes kind of approach may not be the right thing, because that is something required. So what needs to happen is to automatically figure out the drift and provide a way to easily reconcile the drift. So 2 key points: the reconciliation of the drift or closing the loop, and having to deal with the complexity of complexity of Terraform. That's a separate problem, and the way it needs to be addressed is by having an abstraction layer so that the day-to-day developers as well as the DevOps engineers do not have to worry about dealing with Terraform.
When we're talking about platform engineering and people, one of our guests, Ori, shared that rushing into solutions without understanding the root cause can lead to fixing symptoms instead of the actual problem. He mentioned the case of network policies and how sometimes the root cause of a problem is a people problem, and that the solution lies in addressing that. What is your experience with providing tooling and platforms on Kubernetes to other engineers? What are some of the soft challenges that you have faced?
I actually totally agree with the comment, right? Because based on my experience, many times what happens is that we make 2 mistakes, right? We jump to build or provide the solutions rather than understanding the root cause. So that is one key point, as he rightly mentioned, that we need to focus on the root cause of the problem. The second thing is, when it's a people problem, many times the assumption, Kubernetes is complex. The typical assumption made by any technologies or somebody who's responsible for building the solution is that everybody has the same level of knowledge or expertise, right? Which is not true. So my past experience has been to understand the root cause of the problem, and then focus also on the documentation and the workshop, so that you are providing the capabilities and addressing the gap in the knowledge that different user personas have. So it's not a right assumption that everybody has the same level of knowledge and then go ahead and assume that the solution that you have built or have provided will be used to successfully address those pain points.
Kubernetes turned 10 years old this year. What should we expect in the next 10 years to come?
I think it's going to continue to grow very rapidly, from here onwards. The last 10 years, if they are any indication, I think, I'm expecting a massive growth and the massive growth of the ecosystem as well. It is already a de facto standard for Kubernetes, for container orchestration layer, but going forward, that's going to be the main compute platform for deploying application workloads.
With that in mind, I believe, if I'm correct, the last time that you attended KubeCon was in 2017.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Can you tell me the growth, the differences that you've seen, from 7 years ago until now? As you just mentioned, the community, all the things in terms of adoption. What's the difference between then and now?
Oh, just the ecosystem, that, like I said, it has become like a default platform, that everybody, it's kind of interesting that in those days, we were evaluating whether it's going to be Kubernetes, Mesosphere, or Docker Swarm, right? But now, obviously, Kubernetes, the terms like Kubernetes native application, nobody even talks about, not many people talk about container native. It is just assumed that containers means they are going to be deployed on Kubernetes or using the Kubernetes orchestration layer. So that's the huge thing, right? It has become so common in the vernacular, or it has become a verb, right, so to speak.
What's next for you?
So StackGen, we are getting very good traction with the customers. What we have built is resonating very well with the customers, and we have already signed a lot of large enterprise customers, and we have a very strong pipeline. So we are looking forward to a rapid growth phase for us in the coming year and forward. For me personally, this is what I like doing. This is my fourth startup, so I'll just keep doing this. But this particular journey, I think this is the one that I would like to take it all the way, so to speak, right? Whatever that means.
How can people get in touch with you?
People can get in touch with us or Blue Sky or X at StackGen, and with me directly on LinkedIn.